right, so how's it going? Drew, I'm here with Brock. Been filming all weekend, and I figured it'd be cool to do like a little group video, talk about some stuff. So, it's not really an interview per se, but we're gonna talk about like cross training, between rollerblading and figure skating and stuff like that. So, because people don't necessarily know your background as much as mine, we'll start off with like some introductory kind of stuff. So, what's your background with ice skating?
Well, I started playing hockey when I was around 10. I had two brothers that went straight into figure skating. And about 3 years later, I tried on a pair of figure skates for the first time. And, of course, they told me, you won't make it a week. You won't make it 2 months. And, of course, I'm the only one now that has passed all my tests and continue to coach and to continue to skate now. But, yeah, it was definitely that brotherly competition to keep going. And then I started doing ice dance, as a mode instead of freestyle.
How old were you when you started in ice dance?
13, 14.
13?
Yeah.
See, that's interesting, because like when I was 13, I wanted to like fuck shit up, and you were like, you wanted to like go dance. So what drew you to it as a 13-year-old?
At the end of the day, I already played musical instruments, so I was in band, and that helped out with that timing aspect. Sure. And going into dance, I had a natural rhythm already. But had done zero traditional ballroom or any of that dance. So it was kind of, outside the box, because I was a football player. I wrestled and stuff like that too. So moving into figure skating was more of a mode to compete against my brothers, but then I just really got into the edge aspect and the partnering side of things.
Can't forget the girls, dude.
can't forget about the girls. They definitely... there's a lot more of them and a lot less guys, so that kept me into it and kept me saying, hey, we need you. We need, more males in skating. So my mom being a coach and being able to really drive the coaching for me, helped as well.
For sure. So then what got you into rollerblading?
Well, I moved to Denver about 4 years ago, and, from Wichita, Kansas, where there's a rink within 5 miles of me. I coached there, I worked there, it was pretty much the center of my life. Moved to Denver and moved to downtown, and there are no rinks within 5 miles. There's no rinks within 10 miles of downtown.
They're kind of on the outskirts, aren't they?
Yeah, more in the rural area, residential areas.
Yeah.
So as soon as, I came to Denver, I kept skating for myself, solo, kind of moved away from the partner aspect and wanted to move just to pure enjoyment, exercise, choreography, learning how to dance by yourself versus with a partner.
Yeah, which, by the way, we should mention accolades in partner dancing, 2-time national, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely made it to nationals and got to, the quality that I wanted to. But once again, the echelon of dance is just so high that you can make it there and still not be scratching the surface of the international and kind of like the top tier dance. Sure. But it was a great experience being able to perform on a national stage like that.
For sure, man. But I've never done it.
and performing in front of a crowd like that was really an eye opener on what kind of quality of skating that you can attain to and get to. And really once I stopped, it just wasn't a drive for me anymore. I think the main drive for me was to stay active, keep up with the skills, because it's a use it or lose it. If you don't keep doing it, you're going to lose it.
Right.
And that's the main thing I try to tell anyone that wants to keep skating is like, stick with it. Even if you're not competing, it doesn't really even matter.
Yeah. So back to the question. Got you into rollerblading, so we're talking about like the fitness aspect. What actual like the instance that got you into rollerblading?
Yeah, so I actually heard my brother was coaching you to do the transition between ice and roller, and I was at the time not skating as much because it was just harder to get to the rinks. And
I mean, you got a day job and stuff, and rinks have schedules.
Yeah, it's really hard to kind of work, your 8 to 10 hours at your job and then trying to find that time to either wake up early or go after. Well, I'm an adult, so, it's kind of hard to, compete against, the ice schedules that are set up for like,
kids getting out of school,
or kids. Those are the schedules that they've geared for. And getting ice time was just really difficult. So I found out that my brother was coaching. It was a really good idea. So there was the Roll Denver was the first day I ever got a pair of cheap pick skates that I found at a secondhand shop. Threw those bad boys on and skated home from there. From there, I rode a bike there.
It's really far, by the way.
Yeah, rode a bike there, and then I learned how to skate from that shop home, and then I went to Roll Denver that night and just fell in love, A, with Roll Denver, B, with skating in general. And then the next week I came to Wichita to say, hey, let's roller skate together, me and my brother and Drew. And then we threw down City Blaze Zero the second week. Yeah. So that got me into roller skating. And then I was just like, these pick skates are the worst thing for what I'm trying to do. If you're trying to do waltz jumps, salchows, and stuff like that, where you would need that security, you're good. I broke those things down in the first month.
Oh man,
just
they were
destroyed
rough.
them.
Yeah, the frames were all bent up, and the boots were like just dead.
And it was secondhand. They were brand new when I got them though.
Yeah.
Someone bought these male pick skates and went, "This is not for me." And I found them. And I'm like, "These are awesome. They're figure skates." So it gave me that immediate transition with wheels on them. And then I was just like, "These aren't going to last." So it's either I get a professional figure skate and put pick frames on them that can't hold my weight and can't maintain the edges that I want to do. So within the first month, I got a pair of actual inline skates. They're a little bit more like a ski boot versus a leather conforming boot. So that was kind of hard to transition. But I just knowing the type of edges that I could do from dance and what I wanted to do skating wise, the pick skates just aren't necessary.
Yeah. So would you recommend somebody that is maybe like an adult competitor right now? Like, should they go out and get pick skates? Should they go out and get like regular skates? Well, what would you recommend them?
Well, if your goal is to just continue your practice time with doing 1 foot spins, upright spins, doing some like jumps just to learn the pop, and then you would want to have the pick skate because you're training a technical figure skating thing.
Right.
If you're wanting to just do edges and you're wanting to just do recreational and kind of getting out on the streets, then a pick skate's not for you because A, the toe pick, you're going to hit that.
Yeah.
It's statistics.
Bump in the ground.
You will hit that toe pick. So it is actually unsafe for you to use a pick skate and try to go skate on a street or even on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's just dangerous. I've seen multiple skaters use a pick skate going around the city, and then as hilarious as it looks, they fall. That is dangerous. That is a wrist wanting to go. That is a head injury wanting to go. So on a safety factor, don't use a pick skate on a city skate because you're just increasing your chances of falling and hitting that toe pick, which is not made for long distance. It's not made to be out there. Nor are the boots
made to be scraped across concrete.
And that was the other factor. Even my first pair of inline skates, I rubbed off the toe, going down to a low knee or pushing through your edges, scraping onto curbs and stuff. I destroyed even my first pair of inline skates, which is a plastic hard boot. My pick skates didn't even last a month of any kind of street skating.
Yeah. And I think another aspect of that is just, if we're coming back to cross training and stuff, like in my opinion, if you're cross training on something, like you should be working on like skills, like edge quality, like trying to build muscle and stuff like that. And, like the more tricky kind of things like jumps and, 1 foot spins and stuff like that, which they're not really for me, but I think it would just be beneficial overall to really look at it as an opportunity to work on things like control versus...
Yeah, ice skating has its aspects where, you're doing those skills for, either a competition or you're learning, to do multiple types of spins and stuff like that. The biggest difference between like inline and ice skating is you're learning how to skate with inline. You're learning how to go places with inline. When you're on an ice skate, you're in a rink. Yeah. You're in between walls. what else are you going to do besides learn technical, very fine-tuned things like jumps, spins, and edges.
Which is actually an excellent point for the other side of it, because like you take somebody that's like into grinds and stuff like that, and you put them in a rink where there's no like transitions or little boxes or stuff. It's like, you gotta skate, dude. You gotta work on skating.
Yeah.
They're not gonna let you take a P-rail out in the middle of the ice. Like, you're gonna get banned from the rink in like a half second. So
So and the learning, the transition between inline and ice on a cross training standpoint, they're just two different things. And going back to the boot and what you'd want something that can take you places, and that gives you that ability to learn skating, not go back to like, hey, I'm a figure skater, I need to have the boots of a figure skater. It's like, no, if you're going into inline skating, you're trying to go places, and you're trying to learn how to be comfortable anywhere. Versus in an ice rink where you have the security of
it's always the same.
Walls, it's always the same, it's flat. So you just have to have a different mentality when you're going into inline skating. For sure. And then you take that mentality of safety and being able to skate anywhere, and you take that cognizant skating that you've learned from inline skating, and you can bring that back to figure skating on ice or hockey or
which kind of gets to the next point of how it helped your ice skills. I mean, for me, because I started with rollerblading and then I went to ice, and I've mentioned this a few times, but it's always like months between like sessions where my friends talk me into like going out and doing some grinds and stuff like that, hitting transitions, and like after an hour, like, I'm always so much better at it than I was like 3 months ago, which like doesn't make sense, until you think about like, I mean, okay, I've been working on balance muscles hardcore, I've been learning what to do with head, shoulders, arms, hips, in order to like maintain these edges or this posture or something like that. Like, if I'm getting thrown off of a grind, I know what to do to compensate.
Yeah, kind of that exit strategy.
Yeah. So what's the other side of that?
So coming from ice skating to inline,
My coffee go.
The immediate, it's over there.
It's okay.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, no. So on the other side, going from ice skating to inline, you have an infinite amount of grip with ice skating. So but
not on a neutral edge, which you actually have more grip on inline with a neutral edge.
Just skating straight.
Straight, yeah.
I guess I'd have to, combat that with when I'm ice skating or inline skating, I'm never on a neutral edge.
Yeah, but from the perspective of somebody learning moves, like, sometimes it's nice. When I was learning counters was a good example. Like, I was having a really hard time with that exit edge, like that second one. And being able to come down on a neutral edge, like, just while I was learning it, and then kind of lean into it, I think helped me learn the movement like overall, because I could break it into smaller pieces, and then just kind of take out that middle step, and then it was there,
Yeah, and just as far as like the grip and transitioning, learning how to do things in inline just takes a lot more thinking when you're doing these edges, because you don't have the ability to skid through. When you're in skis or you're in skates, you can skid on the top of the ice with a neutral edge, with a flat blade. There is no neutral edge or flat blade with inline. You can skate in a straight line, but
if you try to scrape through a 3-turn, like, you're going down.
Yeah, if you're not giving yourself that true edge quality and thinking about it with the knee action, then you're not going to turn. You're going to grip and you're going to stop. Whereas ice, you can really glide through these things way easier. So that was one of the first things you would notice going into inline, is that if you feel any kind of skid or anything like that, it's because you just don't have that ability to grip with your hollow on your ice skate versus your plastic on concrete. Then the other aspect is you go from this very malleable leather material, or even for hockey skates, a composite material that you've broken into, going to a hinge plastic boot that you can adjust your tightness and you can adjust that for your ankle flexibility. But when I'm skating ice dance, my ankles flex down into the ice to get more grip and to hook edges even more. In inline skating, that skill takes a long time to get.
Yes, it does.
To be able to truly
control.
flex your ankles with your knee action into any kind of curve or slalom is very difficult to learn. It takes a lot of muscle training for your ankles, a lot of muscle training for your knees to be able to flex those knees down and the ankles down into an edge. Ice skating, you can do that infinitely easier than you can in inline skating. But once you get that in your inline skating, your ice skating edges will get even better.
Yeah.
Because if you have learned to do it in an inline skate with the lack of grip, with the stiffer boot, and you're less glide, then you're able to transition that back to ice skating that much better because you've worked the muscles to the nth degree. Versus, hey, I've always done it this way on ice. Now I've relearned it a different way on inline. Take that back to ice, and you've become a much stronger muscled skater at that point, which is kind of the weird part about coming from ice to inline. Someone that comes from inline to ice maybe doesn't have the best edge quality that an ice skater was able to learn, but man, they have powerful strides. So I know a lot of, when I played hockey in Wichita, I knew a lot of inline skaters, hockey players in Wichita, and they could book it down the ice so much faster than some of these other adult skaters that only did ice skating, because they never needed to really dig down deep and push into a roll versus push into a glide. So that is another transition that I play on Adult League Hockey League now here in Denver, and my strides from figure skating and inline skating, that combination now, I'm the fastest guy on the ice, hands down. And then the endurance factor, I can stay on the ice longer, I can play longer, even though your teammates might not like that, but you can, because you have the leg strength and you have the skills to just be out there longer at that point, because you're worked the endurance factor of it.
So then what do you enjoy the most about rollerblading? For me, I think like just the variety of stuff that you can do, is so nice. And just the general overall structure of like how things work, like, I'm not super into competitions and stuff like that,
Right.
I'm more about just trying to get better, and then like doing videos is awesome because I can see my progress, and then I can also like show other people, it's not your mom's cell phone, from way up in the boards, like, videotaping your routine, like, I mean, what is that,
Yeah, so aside from, the videos that I've done, we've done in the past year, kind of showcasing this transition and showcasing skating and ice skating, the community that I've really seen grow with inline skating and stuff like that is so encouraging. It's very positive. Let's get out and do a group skate together. Let's, come to these group events and stuff like that. Ice skating really doesn't have that. You go to the rink, you go to your practice, it's very competitive oriented, and if you're not competitive, you see it, you're there with it. You see the politics in the ice rink. Even if you're just going to a public skate, you see people practicing a competitive program, you have to watch out for them. There's this mentality at an ice rink that creates a era of competitiveness and politics, and you can't escape it on the hockey side or the figure skating side or the speed skating side. So because there's only one place to go, there's only one community, and that's at the ice rink. You don't have that in inline. You have your parks, you have your recreational skating on trails, you have your speed skating, you have your slalom, you have your quads. You have all these different aspects that aren't centered around the politics that the parents put into the rink.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, parents.
Yeah, for you, I mean, you like to be out and like among people and stuff like that. So, you know, like skating through Denver has just been like awesome for you. But like for me on the other side, like I just like to be by myself. So like the ability to hit up like a tennis court or a parking garage or something like that and just like be the only person, like it's awesome, you know. I don't have to screw with like rink schedules. And even, you know, when you go to private ice time, you know, if somebody's working on their program, like that has priority.
Yeah.
You know, when I go rollerblade, nobody has priority over me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So it is a little bit on a selfish side, you know, going into this.
Well, it can be or it cannot be. That's the thing about it.
Yeah, you get to choose.
Yeah.
So skating, you know, through having the options, you know, to skate anywhere is one of the biggest things that I love about inline skating. The availability, you know, you're not having to work against anyone's schedules.
Mm-hmm.
You can go, you can slap your skates on, you can skate to work, you can go out to a parking garage if the weather's bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's infinite amount of options. You can skate every day.
Yeah.
And go around your parking lot, come back in. There is no commitments. You know, you don't have to worry about, is there an ice session today? Did it get canceled for a hockey game? Did it get canceled for a tournament? You have that ability to just practice whenever. So for people that are, you know, ice skaters and they want to cross train and want to have more practice time, inline skating.
Yeah.
You know, I wish, and my biggest regret in my 20s is maybe not doing that more, you know, finding out that, hey, it's just not ice skating, it's skating.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, you have the ability to practice the same skills and transition back and forth. Yeah, if I wish I had started inline sooner, I probably would have quit ice sooner as well.
Yeah.
I still do both, but you know, it's like, man.
Well, prioritizing one above the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which I guess kind of gets into the last point of people on the fence about cross training. Like, again, coming from the rollerblading side, like I find it very easy to advocate because like I don't practice grinds anymore, and then like I can just like do more of them now. I mean, how else would you explain that? You know, but like, okay, so if we had like an adult figure skater, you know, mid-20s to kind of mid-30s, and they were thinking about it, like, do you have like any other words for them?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's just getting more practice time. Ice time is expensive. For maybe the same price that you paid for a month of ice, you
buy rollerblades.
You buy rollerblades and you learn the maintenance of them, you learn the wheel types of them, and then you have this ability to have skating in your life all month long versus only at 6 a.m. or only at on the weekends when there's public sessions. You have this ability to
between like one and the other on a regular basis. Like I will say, when I first started, like it took me like a good week or two to kind of relearn what each one was about. But now, I mean, like, you know, a year or so in, probably more than that, probably like 2 years in of going back and forth. Like by the time I get through my warm-ups, which is like, 10-15 minutes, like I'm comfortable. You know, it's once you learn the skill of like transitioning back and forth, it's so negligible, it doesn't have any effect.
Yeah, and it definitely is a issue and it's a factor, but once you've trained each specifically, you like, hey, this is my inline skating day. You just learn those ankle flexes. You learn what you need to adjust to be able to be on wheels.
And the difference between the boot feels too, because I mean, in general, I think rollerblades have like less heel raise in them and stuff like that.
Well, and then the same thing goes with figure skates to hockey skates. That same difference of having a flat blade, longer rocker versus a hockey, which is a rounded blade, very short rocker. Just learning how to center yourself in each of those different scenarios is the same transition. If you're going from a figure skate to an inline skate, if you have that ability to change the way that you position your body over the skate, figure skates, you go back in your heel. Hockey skates, you're in this athletic position.
Forward kind of,
Yeah, and you just know that that's the difference. Yeah, no, and I know that one of the main things that we hear and talk about is, current inline skaters that are working on, skills, and, they get stuck in kind of maybe their mode. And I know we had talked about, what would city blades and kind of this, figure skating mentality do for like other inline skaters. And I thought that was a really good point. You learn such a, boxed mentality when you learn, slalom or, speed skating or aggressive,
or whatever,
and you learn those skills. But a lot of times when you're doing these skills, you're learning just a portion of what is possible for edges, for maneuvers, backward, forwards, three turns, mohawks, all these different things that figure skaters learn in their confined ice rinks that they have to learn because it's the only thing to do. But those are still the repertoire of moves is so wide. And if you're wanting to cross-train any of your inline aspects, learning the figure skating stuff is only going to give you a wider breadth of moves to do.
Definitely. I mean, like for a figure skater to do a 1080 on flat ground is very common.
Yeah.
So like as an aggressive skater, like how would you not want to like, and you mentioned something the other day about how anytime you see somebody do a spin and do a grind that's more than a 360, like they look like a figure skater when they do it.
Yeah.
Like it's all there.
They're even crossing their legs. I've seen some people are like crossing their legs and then they hit that, they've done a 720 and they hit the side of their boot, but they're checking out just like a figure skater. They jump out of it, do another 720 out of it, and they have to check out whenever they come out of that move. And now it's not on one foot, but they're still doing a check of some sort to control the rotation.
And get into the rotation and like, just what to do to actually make the rotation happen. Like, I mean, like the idea of a curriculum is kind of a back and forth for me because on one hand I love the freedom of rollerblading, but on the other hand I love that when you go to figure skating you have like a literal list, like a progression of stuff to work through, and it really makes a point of like teaching you all those things you need to know.
Yeah, and when you're learning how to do slalom freestyle, you're learning around cones. You don't do that in ice skating, in inline skating. In figure skating. You do that on a circle, and you do that in open skating, and that is really what is powerful for, say, aggressive or speed skating, those aspects, because you are learning how to control yourself on a bigger circle, you're learning how to control yourself on a open field versus these confined,
the balance
circles.
Is so much more demanding when you're not trying to keep a tiny pattern, like the bigger your pattern gets, like the more you really have to like have the muscles to do it.
So the biggest aspect of, for inline skaters, wanting to work on more fancy feet, more, maneuvers that you don't see in inline skating, you see in figure skating, is it just creates this wider breadth of maneuvers you can do. If you're going into a grind, maybe throw in, a 3-turn step forward jump. There's so many executable things you can do before your highlight. And that's what figure skating really does treat, because a jump is a jump, but how you get into the jump, the finesse and flow of getting into the jump is just as important as the jump too.
Yeah, and just like the ability to put lines together, if you have an object here and then another object like 30 feet away, like you don't have to just roll, like a noob.
And the biggest thing that I see in a lot of aggressive or even urban obstacle things is they got to pick up the speed. They got to do their big, powerful stride to pick up their speed. Well, I know at least 10 other ways to do that without just an open stride, power skate. I can do mohawks to push. I can do backward crossovers to a forward step forward, which is a push. Learning how to push and do power skating, not just with open strides, will make your skating that much more interesting. B, you're going to actually learn how to push, and you're going to be able to maneuver around things a lot easier when you're learning this wide breadth of maneuvers.
I also feel like I fall less because I've practiced so many ways to get, from forward to backward and controlling deep edges and stuff. It's like situations don't come along too often that I'm not prepared to bail out of.
Right. So, and that's the other aspect of learning the skills slow, learning them methodically, and then you start transitioning to getting faster and faster and adding more terrain and stuff like that. So
adding context.
So definitely is not something that you just want to slap a mohawk and a 3-turn into your stuff without trying it slow and stuff like that. But as soon as you do, as soon as you become aware of these maneuvers, as soon as you become aware of the wide breadth of things you can do, your skating will just amplify tenfold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so good stuff. Successful weekend in Denver.
Yep, Fancy Feet 2 coming out pretty quick, I think. I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. We'll see.
We're pretty excited about it. It's kind of our dig. So, but yeah, lots of tutorials coming out. Lots of just content when it comes to the transition between ice skating and inline skating, just so we can get more people interested.
All right, take it easy.
Cheers.